Good evening. You have joined the Kappa Kappa Gamma webinar on raising caring and confident children. So if this is the topic you are looking for, welcome, and we are glad to have you with us. My name is Julie Stonehouse, and I really couldn't find a very flattering picture of me. So for tonight, this is me, the little lady in the garden. I am currently serving the fraternity as education chair, and I have volunteered as a Kappa trainer for the past 10 or 11 years. In my professional life, I am a teacher, and I've worked with children from preschool age through 8th grade. I currently teach 5th grade. I'm in my second year back to full-time teaching, which leads me to my real experience as it relates to our topic tonight. For 14 years, I held the position of stay-at-home mom, raising Anna, who is now 16, Jane, who is 13, and Tommy, who proudly turned 10 a couple of months ago. No more single-digit babies in our house, as he told us on his birthday. Becoming a mom and staying home to raise our kids was hands down the most challenging and rewarding and frustrating and exciting job that I had ever experienced. I think oftentimes being an at-home mom is the most thankless job in the world. I entered a new chapter of motherhood a couple of years ago when I started the mom, wife, full-time worker juggle. And this has brought new challenges that I am still figuring out every day. Also, 4 years ago, my husband was recalled to active duty military service and deployed to Afghanistan. So for about a year, I experienced the incredible challenges of single motherhood. So whether you are an at-home mom, a working mom, or a single mom, you are doing amazing and important work. So that's enough about me. Let's look at what we will be talking about tonight. We'll start with a quick poll, a couple of questions to give me an idea of what phase of parenting you are in. We'll go through some basic needs of a child. We'll talk about some things to look for with regard to your children's self-esteem. And we'll finish up with a few suggestions to foster a foundation of confidence in your child. Now, you may have picked up on a gardening theme this evening, and I thought maybe I should explain that. This is partly due to the fact that spring has finally arrived here in Minnesota, where I live. And my thoughts are out in the garden, where the trees are budding and the early bulbs are finally blooming. And also, a couple of weeks ago, I was talking to a very good friend who also happens to be one of the best examples of patient, loving kindness as a mother that I know. So I was telling her about this presentation that I was preparing, and I was moaning about the fact that Tommy had completely lost the sheet music for his upcoming piano recital, and the girls had been squabbling over shower time or something, and I just didn't feel like I was hitting the mark with my kids in the responsibility and kindness department. So my wonderful friend reminded me that raising children is like cultivating a garden. She said, remember, Julie, it doesn't happen overnight, and it takes a lot of patient nurturing. And I really like that analogy. It's kind of stuck in my brain, so we're using it tonight. Now, as we go through the next 45 minutes or so, if you have a question you'd like to ask, look to the right of your screen. You should see a cute little hand that you can click on, just like raising your hand in school to ask a question. Also, down below, you should see a box where you can type in your question, and I'll try to keep an eye on that and respond to any questions that you might have. Also, this webinar is being recorded, and it will be found in the webinar series archives on the Kappa website. So let's start out with a couple of questions to help me know a little something about you. So on your screen, hopefully, you are seeing a question, asking about the number of children that you have. And I'll give you a few minutes to respond to that. Actually, I'm really only going to give you about a half a minute to respond to that, and then I'll share the results so we can take a look at who we are raising. Okay, we'll go ahead and share that. So as you can see tonight, it looks like everyone has one or two children that they are currently raising, and it could be that of those people you may have plans to add to your family, or maybe one or two children that feels just right to you. My second question for you I am finding right now. Oh, there we go. Sorry. Alrighty, second question. Wondering where you are in this journey of parenthood and how old these children are that you are parenting. So if your children are really young, up through preschool age, or early elementary, middle school, high school, beyond high school, go ahead and indicate that. I'm seeing some young ages coming in. All right, we'll go ahead and close that out. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to respond. So it looks like everyone with us tonight has young children in that birth to preschool age range, which is such a fun age when the whole entire world is just open to be explored and everything, they're like little sponges just soaking everything up. And then it looks like we also have some people with us who are raising those elementary age children. Those are those fun kids up to 10 and 11-year-olds that I spend time with every day. All right, so with these kids in mind, let's talk about the basic needs of a child, because whether he is 3 years old or 13 years old, all children have some basic needs that have to be met or should be met. The first of those basic needs is respect. Everyone needs to feel respected, and children need to feel respected as much as anyone else in the family. The second of those basic needs is power. Now, this doesn't mean that the kids are in control of the family, but that children have a sense of their own personal power and the ability to affect things in their own lives. The third of those basic needs is acceptance. All children need to feel unconditionally accepted for who he or she is. Bonnie Harris is an author and a professional speaker on parenting issues, and she says that this acceptance is more important than love even. And I personally struggled with this idea for a number of years as I struggled with some challenging behaviors with one of my children. Gradually, and it took me a while, but gradually I came to realize that acceptance of my child does not necessarily mean that I accept her behavior. So I can love her unconditionally for who she is, and at the same time, we can be working on some of those behaviors that we need to work on together. The next basic need is trust. Children need to feel trusted, and they need to be given the chance to trust in others. And what better place to start with that than in the family? Our children need to know that they have an important place in our family that only they can fill. They need to know that they belong and that they are valued. Structure, I think, is so important. It's so important to have clear and consistent guidelines, to know what is expected of him and what he can expect from you as a parent. Now, this structure is going to look different as he gets older, but teenagers need structure every bit as much as toddlers do. That's what I'm learning. Boundaries, I think of this as kind of following from that structure. Children and parents need healthy boundaries to know the difference between the child's and the parent's responsibilities. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that as we go too. Modeling. Children need positive, caring role models in their lives. Again, this role, I think, is first filled by the parent, but I love that my children have grandparents, aunts, uncles, close family friends, coaches, teachers, all modeling for them and all sending those messages that we care about you and the person that you're becoming. So when these needs are met, you have a caring and confident child. Simple as that. I included these words mainly because I like this quote. I think it's really true as a parent. I find as a teacher that it's really true of my students as well. This is my experience. Children want to be successful, and a successful child feels confident and emotionally secure. So when a child feels this, her behavior is appropriate for her age and temperament. And I think that little extra piece is really important, that the behavior is appropriate for the child's age and temperament, because it's important to think about our expectations as a parent. For those of you who do have more than one child, if your family is like mine, you know that children have their own personalities. They may come from the same parents, they might live in the same house, have basically the same rules to follow, yet have very different personalities, talents, and strengths. So it's important for me as a mother to not expect my son to react to situations in the same way that my daughters would, or to not expect my younger daughter to react to situations in the same way that my older daughter would. My expectations for my child should be based on who she is, not based on what I see other children doing or who I wish she would be. Now, our time is pretty limited tonight in this webinar, but if you're interested in more information about these basic needs of a child, I would really recommend that you check out this book, Confident Parents, Remarkable Kids, written by Bonnie Harris, this woman that I referred to a moment ago. I've just found, I came across it, I don't know, maybe a couple of years ago, but I find that it's just got some really good common sense advice that just felt really true to me as a parent. Are there any questions so far? Questions about those basic needs of a child or anything else? It looks like there was a question and someone may have been having some trouble with audio, but hopefully that question is resolved now. So we'll move on. So even when all of these basic needs are met, a child can certainly struggle with confidence or experience a lack of self-esteem. And this can be a really normal phase for children to experience as they get older and they try new things and they stumble and pick themselves back up again. But the more pervasive, deeper, more serious changes in a child's confidence, that is what needs our attention. So we're going to talk a little bit about recognizing those self-esteem issues. Now, I really feel that the first place to watch is in a child's behavior. Our child's behavior can tell us what's going on if we pay attention. Paraphrasing Webster, behavior is defined as the expression of how our kids are feeling on the inside when faced with what's coming at them from the outside. And when children are acting out or exhibiting significant behavior changes, they're telling us something. And that's when it becomes our job to dig down to the roots, to really discover the cause of these behavior changes. And just to interject another experience that I've learned from our family, sometimes when you are digging for the root of an issue, it is appropriate and helpful to call on a professional for help. I mentioned earlier that my husband spent a year in Afghanistan a few years back, and one of the changes that this separation and this challenging year for our family brought was that my oldest child began having anxiety attacks. And after trying to reassure her myself without a whole lot of success, she and I started visiting a psychologist. And working with someone who was removed from the situation was so beneficial in helping my daughter to work through these issues. She actually emerged from those months stronger and so much more confident in her abilities to cope with stress and challenges. So I think that sometimes we feel like as parents that we're supposed to have all the answers, we're supposed to know it all, be able to do it all. And I've just found in my parenthood journey that sometimes it's okay to call in reinforcements. Now, I included this idea of bodies here with issues of self-esteem because I think it's really important for us to teach our children to go inward and get in touch with how their bodies are feeling. Now, from responses to the polls, it doesn't look like any one of you are yet living with teenagers. But for me, living with two teenage girls, I really try to help them learn to tune into their bodies and be aware of the signals that it's sending, that gut instinct, whether it's regarding boys or issues of safety or values or integrity. But also, especially with those little ones, those younger children, there are many times when they simply have to do something they may not like. For example, maybe visiting the doctor for shots before kindergarten. Who likes to do that? So it's important for us to teach our kids that even in those circumstances, they still have some choice or control. So we can say to them, we do have to go see Dr. Aronson today, but you get to choose how you feel about it. You can feel worried about the shots you need before school, or you can feel proud that you are taking care of your body and making sure you are healthy and ready for school. Either way you choose to feel is okay. So helping our children learn to recognize and then regulate and then self-soothe through those emotions are huge confidence builders, I think. And we're helping them to tap into that basic need to have personal power. Now, I am certainly no expert on this particular topic, but something that I've heard a couple of early childhood educators speak about recently is the use of guided imagery with children to not only manage stress, but also redirect challenging behaviors, even to help kids settle down to fall asleep for the night. So here are a couple of places to look for some great resources for this idea of kids taking ownership of their bodies. First of all, Free Spirit Publishing is a company here in the Twin Cities of Minnesota. I think they have fantastic resources for parents, teachers, and especially for kids, just in the area of this self-esteem, confidence boosters, character education. And Belarus Naparstek is a woman or a resource, well, she's also a woman, who has been suggested to me as a guided imagery expert, again, not only for children, but also for adults. I mean, I think that getting in touch with the signals that our bodies are sending is important for us as well. Any questions about any of that so far, or thoughts? Okay. The last topic that we'll address tonight relates to building that self-esteem, to helping our children to grow up strong and confident. Now, a gentleman by the name of Dr. Robert Brooks wrote Raising a Self-Disciplined Child, and in it he suggests that we as parents find our child's island of competency. When I first read that term, I was really kind of intrigued by that. He says that this is the area where our child shines. We all have individual strengths, and our children aren't any different. So discovering and then supporting a child's natural gift is a huge boost to self-esteem. So this can be a talent with running. It can be discovering that your child really has a head for math. Or maybe this child just is really good at telling jokes and making other people laugh. Whatever it is, focus on it and celebrate it. And again, going back to those basic needs of a child, this also meets the child's basic needs for acceptance and belonging. Problem-solving skills. When we help our children to solve their own problems, we hold them accountable for their choices, and we teach them decision-making skills and responsible thinking. So here's the premise. We have structure in our family. We talked about how that's a basic need. We set limits for our children. The limits are to ensure that mutual respect, which is another basic need. In every family, we all need to feel respected. And we also have rules. This gives the structure that all children need. It's also really important that the rules make logical sense to the child, that she knows ahead of time what the rule is and why. This is really important if you want your child to internalize that rule and follow it, even when you're not around. But with all of those things in place, the structure, the limit, the rules, then when a problem arises and a rule is broken, as it inevitably will be from time to time, because these are kids we're talking about, and testing rules, again, is behaviorally appropriate for them. So when that rule is broken, then we shift to problem-solving skills, not punishment. Or if a child is struggling with a problem, we don't swoop right in and solve it for them, but we teach them those problem-solving skills. So what does problem-solving look like? Well, it looks like asking a lot of questions. First, it's important to take all situations seriously. Now, this doesn't mean that we make a federal case out of the tiniest thing, but it means that we don't ever say something like, oh, stop being such a baby, that's no big deal, or why are you crying about that? If an issue or a problem is important to your child, then it's important to you as the parent. Just feeling like she has truly been heard goes a long way towards your child's investment in the problem-solving process. Acknowledging his feelings and the importance of the situation can be as simple as a genuine comment like, oh, I can tell that this is really important to you. Again, it's just acknowledging and validating how they are feeling. Facilitating your child's thinking. This is where you start asking those questions. You don't tell your child what to think, but your questions help them to discover their own thinking. So you might ask a question like, how do you think she feels when you say or do something like that? Or, why do you think that your brother doesn't want to give you that crayon? Or, and here's one that I'm asking my 4th grade son a lot, how much time do you think is reasonable for you to play video games today? But again, we're not telling them what to think. We're helping them to get in touch with their own ideas. We're also really giving them a chance to use their voice to state those ideas. And there's such power in that. That's, again, going back to that personal need or that basic need of personal power. Now, along with allowing and helping your child to find their voice, I think it's really important for us, too, as parents, to use our voice and tell our children, what our concerns are. It's important to let our kids know clearly how we feel about a situation. Saying something like, I'm concerned about your safety when you ride your bike without wearing your helmet. Or, here's what I think, and then explaining, your position, and then following up with, can we come to an agreement? When we validate our children by asking them what they need, we are showing them the respect and trust that they need. So asking something like, what can you do about this situation? Again, it's not, what am I going to do about the situation, or even what can we do about the situation, but what can you do about this situation? Or you might ask them something like, how do you want this to turn out? So you know what their end wish is, and then you can kind of help them along the side get there. I think this is also a good place to mention negotiating. Negotiating is a lot like problem solving, and kids are masters at arguing and negotiating. I have one who, I will swear, arrived in our household at birth with her PhD in arguing and negotiating. And this is a great skill to promote. I tell myself that Jane is going to use her extensive talents in this area someday to be a wildly successful adult. The important thing to keep in mind, though, is that this negotiating can be endless if I, as a parent, don't know when to end it. She isn't going to stop. It's my responsibility as the parent to be very clear when I've come to my final decision. When we get sucked into the vortex of endless arguing, and I have been there, we lose authority as parents. So I have to be the first to step back. Now, Jane might not like my final decision. She may feel mad. That's her right to feel that way. But my right as her parent is to make the decision. Now, at the same time, when Jane presents a good case with thoughtful reasons for her position, and I listen and accept her arguments, that's a big confidence booster for her. I'm giving her that trust and power and respect that are basic needs that she has. Asking your child if she would like your opinion or help. Now, when she's younger or in the beginning of your practice with problem solving, your child is likely to need more assistance from you. As she gets older, you'll probably find that she is more capable of doing more of this on her own. And asking for what you need. I think, again, this goes back to that basic need for boundaries, parents' responsibilities and the child's responsibilities. We might say, I need about an hour of help from you today, or I need to feel sure that you are safe. But again, as long as we are modeling being very clear in our communication and stating our needs respectfully, I think we're modeling a really positive lesson of using our voice for our children. And then we have to let our child or children have time to think it through. Again, we're not telling our child what to think. So it may be that here there needs to be a break while she processes. If this is the case, then it's really important to follow through in the near future. That might mean 30 minutes later. It might mean 5 minutes later if you're dealing with a toddler, or not toddler, but maybe preschool-age young one. Or it could be the next day that you come back to this issue. But it's really important that you follow through with those final 2 steps of problem solving. and here they are. Making a list of ideas and then crossing off any that can't be agreed upon. So again, here your child is taking responsibility for the solution to the problem, and the solution has to be satisfactory to all involved. Absolutely, as a parent, I am playing a role in maybe helping to generate some of those ideas. I might be helping to brainstorm. I'm not, though, driving the agenda. They're not only my ideas on the list. And then finally, you make an agreement. Now, it could be in some situations, this is, a verbal agreement followed by a hug. Maybe sometimes this might be a written contract. It could be a written contract for sharing toys with his brother. It could be a written contract for use of the television after the homework is done. Because it looks like many of you have young children, you may feel like this is never going to be the case, but oh my, it happens before you know it. You may be writing contracts for borrowing the car keys. But each of these steps may take a while, especially at first with those young ones. But this process meets so many of those basic needs that our children have that I just really feel like this is crucial to growing confidence in your child. Now, I will tell you that in those really early days of this problem solving, and I did this with my children starting when they were really young. When I was problem solving with my 3-year-old Anna, my in-laws thought I was nuts. And you might encounter this reaction from others too. I got a lot of, why are you spending so much time talking about that with her? Or, she's little, you're the mom, you're the boss. But that just didn't feel right to me. And I think probably because I wasn't raised that way. So I had to be true to what felt right to me. I'd like to think that over the years and through 3 kids now, their thinking has changed. At least they don't say those things out loud to me anymore. They might still think them. But I can tell you that now that we are looking at colleges with Anna, and that day is looming when she will be heading out into the wide world, I totally have confidence in her ability to problem solve and work through challenges that she will no doubt face out there, because she, quite honestly, has been doing it all of her life. Who has questions about problem solving? Remember to look for that little question box down at the bottom. All right, then we will move on. So problem-solving skills, again, huge piece of building confidence in our children as they are growing. Another piece I wanted to talk about is praise. We're talking a lot about self-esteem and confidence in our children, which is truly important. But something that I see quite a bit, and I think especially in school as a teacher, is an abundant use of praise, thinking that we're building that self-esteem. When praise is truly useful, it is very specific and descriptive. Just pouring the praise on with a lot of good job, or you're such a great student, can actually undermine a child's desire to work hard. They might think, well, why should I bother? I'm great just as I am. Everybody tells me so. So again, the praise should be specific and descriptive. Excuse me. Going back to that idea of islands of competency, think about those strengths that are unique to your child and focus on them. Feeling appreciated and valued, that's, I think, what keeps kids motivated. So here's a good place to start. Think about those islands of competence that you see in your child and write them down. Like, actually make a list. Then really look for times that you can point out specific gifts in your child that he might not be able to recognize in himself yet. So I might say something like, you have a real ability to convey your opinions in a passionate way. That could really serve you well in your career someday. So I'm focusing on that talent. It could be a talent that on some days I think is going to drive me insane, but I'm looking for the positive. I'm trying to focus on the positive. I personally feel like it's my responsibility as a parent to help my children find ways to contribute to the larger world. The world that my kids are growing up in is so much more connected than the world in which I grew up. My daughter has literally hundreds of friends on Facebook from all over the globe. These are people she can connect with on a daily basis, and does. So her virtual neighborhood is a very big place. Parenting as children navigate the internet is a topic in itself, and we're not talking about that tonight, but I think the main idea that's useful here is that our kids can become very aware of the world at large, and we need to help them find ways to share their gifts with others. From a very young age, children like to help, and for those of you who have those real young kids in your house, you probably see that. We all know that deep feeling of satisfaction that comes from truly helping someone. This is another important confidence builder for our children. Even a toddler can experience that feeling of helping to carry in the groceries as they bring in a roll of paper towels. Or a preschooler is happy as he helps dry the hopefully unbreakable dishes after dinner or helps to fold the laundry. The washcloths were Tommy's specialty when he was 3 and 4 years old. Who knows, maybe someday his wife will thank me when he can really fold a mean washcloth. As our children get older, with this foundation of helpfulness, they begin to naturally look for ways that they can contribute to their community and beyond. A few years ago, Jane and a neighbor friend decided that they wanted to open a lemonade stand to raise money to send to victims of Hurricane Katrina. So this became an all-day endeavor as they created signs, gathered supplies, and cheerfully sold their wares to some very kind neighbors and the occasional passerby. So the cost to me was some cups and a couple of tubs of lemonade mix, and then refilling the pitchers as they brought them in. But the look on Jane's face as we drove her $32 donation to the Red Cross Collection Center was priceless. She felt ready and able to take on the world. It was a big confidence booster. So here are a few ideas on this topic of service just from our family. Around the holidays, our family chooses a local family through our church to shop for. And I know that we're certainly not alone in doing this. Lots of people do this. But what got us started was a few years ago, my parents asked that we not buy them holiday gifts, but instead donate the money to a charity. So we try to pick a family in need with children of ages similar to our own, and then all together as a family, we shop, wrap, and deliver the gifts to our church. And then my kids write letters about the experience, and we give those letters as gifts to my mom and dad. Now, when we started this, Tommy was a preschooler, so his early letters were just scribbled diagrams. He called them maps of all the places in Target that he drove the cart looking for gifts. And then I maybe dictated a few sentences or took dictation from him of a few sentences. But my parents have kept these letters over the years, and those pages just tell this beautiful story, I think, of my children's emerging commitment to service to others and a really deepening appreciation for those non-material things as they get older. Birthday parties can be another opportunity for service. And again, maybe this is as your kids are getting more to the elementary school age, but from our example, here in the Twin Cities, we have an organization called Feed My Starving Children that packages meals to send to children in developing countries or to areas of need. A few years ago, Anna volunteered at one of the packaging centers with her soccer team. So she came home and announced that this was going to be her next birthday party. So for the next 3 years, actually, both Anna and Jane had Feed My Starving Children birthday parties. And it is a lot of fun to watch the kids and their friends giggling at each other in hairnets and just enjoying what they're doing, enjoying that service as they're packaging those meals. And they truly float out of there after learning that they've packaged 1,600 meals for children in Haiti that afternoon. And then here's a little side bonus. There's often no charge for hosting a service-related birthday party like this. You can drop a lot of money at a Chuck E. Cheese for a birthday party, but having a chance to do some good for someone else at the same time just puts such a really nice, positive, happy energy on a birthday party. So my question to you is, do any of you have any ideas for service activities that you have done or could do with kids? And if you do, please feel free to either send them in the question box or also in the chat box, and I will look for those there. Oh, it looks like somebody was having trouble voting. I'm really sorry about that. I'm assuming that that meant when the poll was up. Sorry about that, Kim. Any great service ideas out there? Well, I'm not seeing too many responses coming up, so maybe what I'll say to you is we've just planted some seeds here in your garden, and you can be thinking about it. And I bet as your children get older, and as you start to look around for those opportunities, I bet you'll be surprised at what presents itself for you. I really feel like involving our children in service is a wonderful way to show them that they have a unique gift to bring to the world, that they can make a difference. So, with the time that we have remaining, I just wanted to share a couple of last thoughts. First of all, that it's okay to doubt ourselves as parents. And maybe I just tell myself this to make myself feel better, but I have certainly known those parents who have all the answers, they have everything figured out. And I'm here to tell you that's not me. But I think that it's doubt that keeps us aware as parents. It keeps us searching and learning new ways to connect with our children. Doubt also makes it okay to acknowledge when we make mistakes and to apologize to our kids when we make those mistakes. Some of my most powerful parenting moments have come when I have apologized to my children. Doubt keeps me consciously parenting. I don't want to get myself stuck on autopilot as a parent. So if you're doubting what you're doing, be encouraged. That's a great thing. And finally, I want to leave you with words of wisdom from the current hit TV show Glee. Now, my 16-year-old daughter, Anna, has recently become a Glee fan. For those of you who may not be Gleeks, Glee is about a group of high schoolers who are outside of the generally accepted social circles, who come together in a Glee club, a show choir, and they're led by their very passionate and dimpled teacher, Mr. Schuster. So there's high school drama, there's great singing. It's really easy to see why high schools and, by the way, many of our Kappa houses on our college campuses are having Glee nights where they get together to watch the latest things going on with Rachel and Finn and Puck and Quinn. So anyway, Anna and I were watching Glee last week, and I heard this quote towards the end of the show that I quickly scribbled down, thinking that this was the perfect wrap to our topic tonight. So to set the stage for you, and you may notice that on the screen there is a link, a website link, because I captured the video on Hulu, but as I was trying to run this in the practice session and link it here to my presentation, I just wasn't getting any cooperation from the computer, and the audio and video just weren't good. And so I thought, I'll just share with you. So yes, there's a link, but I'm just going to give you my narration of this link. So to set the stage, Kurt is a high school boy. He's struggling to come to terms with who he is, while he's occasionally belting out these very soulful songs in just this amazing soprano voice. So that's Kurt. His dad is a blue-collar guy who is like a part owner in a tire shop, and he's trying to be supportive of his teenage son who has a 30-minute skincare regimen each evening. So in this emotional conclusion between Kurt and his dad, Kurt tells his dad that he'll try to work harder to be the kind of son that he feels like his dad wants to have. And his dad, who I just think is such a great model of parenting on Glee, his dad responds, "Your job is to be yourself. My job is to love you just exactly as you are." So who'd have thought? Words of wisdom from Glee. But I really think that when we understand this, when we understand that their job is to be themselves and our job is to love them exactly as they are, then we cannot help but raise caring and confident kids. So thank you for spending your time here this evening. I will stay on the line for a few minutes, so if anyone has any last questions that they'd like to send, I'll be sticking around and looking for those. And again, just as a reminder, this webinar recording will be uploaded and will be found on the CAPA website under Education and the webinar series archives. So thank you again for your time tonight. I hope you have a great evening and have fun with those kids. Thanks.